Hey there, Comic-Con at home. I'm Mike Avila with SYFY WIRE, and welcome to SYFY Presents The Untold Tales of Todd McFarlane. For the past year and a half, SYFY WIRE has been putting together a documentary that follows Todd's epic rise through the comic industry, all the way up to the release of Spawn's record-shattering 300th issue. The documentary, Todd McFarlane, Like Hell I Won't, premieres July 25th at 11 p.m. on SYFY, and we'll be taking a closer look at that later on. But first, allow me to pose a question. Who is Todd McFarlane? Founding partner of Image Comics, creator of Spawn, avid collector of record-breaking baseballs, the man who dared to ask, how hard can I make Spider-Man's webs to draw? The answer is, of course, all of the above. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you the one, the only, Todd McFarlane.
Hey, Mike. Mike, how are you doing out there?
Good, man, good. This is a bit different than what we usually are used to doing at conventions.
Yeah. Obviously, the world's different for everybody, but it's always interesting when I do panels. Sometimes it gets a little complicated to sort of, in 2 words, say what my job is, right? I mean, and the easiest thing to do is just say CEO, co-founder of stuff, right? And then that makes it a little bit easier, but it's not nearly as sexy. CEO, who cares about it? But like I said, my life has been trying to just do art, and I haven't limited myself as to where that art needs to be. You know, I put it in comics and posters, books, TVs, movies, music, sports, radio shows, whatever. I mean, everything. Any place where you can do art, to me, I think it's fertile ground to try and get it there, because you never know. You never know when you basically sort of throw a dart at a board, what's going to stick and what's not going to stick. And I've been fortunate enough that some of the things that I've taken in a crack at have decided to have some kind of value.
Yeah, so. Just a few of the things you've done, right? That's quite the understatement there. Todd, you know, it's great to have you here. I also wanted to invite a few of your pals here to share some fun memories and stories about you, hopefully some that might embarrass you, even though you don't embarrass easy. Here I got, you know, your friends, your peers, guys that have followed your entire career and they've been down in the trenches with you. Sadly, they all turned us down. Yeah. So you're stuck with this group of nobodies who really had nothing better to do. Please join me in welcoming Image Comics co-founder and CEO of Top Cow Productions, Mr. Marc Silvestri.
Hey, everybody. Hey, how are you?
Hey, thanks for coming on. Thanks for coming on today.
Up next, you know him as the co-creator of Gen 13 and Danger Girl, Mr. J. Scott Campbell.
Hey there, Mike. Hey there, Todd. Hey there, Mark. Hey, everybody. Glad to be here. I'm not nearly as ancient as these guys. I mean,
you're the young pup here.
I had to dust off these comics when I found them as a kid. You know, and go like, what are these ancient things? But I'm glad to be here. It's exciting to be discussing this new and exciting documentary on Mr. Todd McFarlane.
Well, before we start getting into stories and fun anecdotes about Todd's career in life, we wanted to give the folks watching the panel a sneak peek at the upcoming SYFY WIRE documentary, Todd McFarlane, Like Hell I Won't. We're going to show the trailer now.
There is no shortcut to get to 300 issues of a comic book.
Love it, like it, loathe it, whatever it is. You have to have respect for the journey that he's taken.
Todd's a visionary.
That guy literally came from nowhere, out of nowhere.
When I bought my first comic at 16, I just went, oof. I got 300 rejection letters.
Todd started out as someone that was rising up through the ranks that wasn't embraced by the people running Marvel at the time.
Every time I tried to do something, they went, you can't. You can't. So I can't do panels that overlap. I can't have appendages come out. I said, break the rules and make it look cool.
They wanted Spider-Man to shine. They didn't want Todd to shine.
There just become moments where I just go, if nobody's going to do it for me, I'll do it myself.
Oh yeah, I got this character, he's dead, he's from hell, and I'm calling him Spawn.
It was completely unique.
It was a game changer.
Sold 1.7 million copies.
Todd did for toys what he did for comics.
He did it all on his own.
That's Todd's brain.
Success, for the most part, comes with a target.
You can't be in the public eye as Todd is and not have people try to take you down.
He nearly lost everything.
Except, I'm not going to get pushed around. I'm going to fight back.
That's how Todd lives his life. What is the status quo? I don't care. This is where it's going to go.
I am relentless. I'm like a dog with a bone. I start corporations out of anger.
Everything that he's done, it's always pushing boundaries. It's always pushing boundaries.
Have I seen the view at the edge of the cliff? On more than one occasion.
Never give up. Never take no for an answer.
They're going to always try and say, it's not possible, don't do it. Don't listen to them.
Todd had no fear, ever.
I'm just getting warmed up.
It's all bullshit.
You know, I've seen a lot of that footage for a while because, you know, I produced the documentary and I was working very closely with it and going over all the footage. I tell this to several people who've asked me, what was the most important thing about getting it made? Besides him saying yes, was I asked him, okay, who don't you want me to talk to? And that'll always tell you something because, you know, it's hard for somebody to let themselves be put into context openly and completely. And usually if you're going to do a complete look at somebody's career and life and so on, you're going to get some warts in there, right? And he gave us one name that he preferred we didn't talk to. And most of the people watching this will guess the wrong person. And it had nothing to do with comics, actually, which I thought was very interesting to me because basically he said, I'm an open book, go ahead. As long as they're telling the truth, I'm fine with it. Because not everybody in your position would do that.
Well, the reason for the answer, Mike, was simple. If you're going to do a documentary, a book on people, you should show both sides. Given that I don't really care that much what other people think about me, it was easy for me to say, then put it all out there and let people make their own decision. It's not going to waver me one iota for what I'm about to do for the next 30 years of my life. So if after this documentary, everybody thinks I'm great, I'm going to still go down the same path. And if they all think I'm a demon, I'm still going down the same path, right? So put it out there. It's entertainment. Let's go. Let's go.
Now I'm wondering who that one person is. It's Wanda, right? It was Wanda. You didn't want her talking about that because she knows the real Todd.
I think you nailed it, Mark.
Wanda had some great insight into Todd in this. And I also learned about some of the worst deal making ever from Wanda when she told me about some of the trades that he'd make for hockey cards. From artwork that she wishes he wouldn't have traded for hockey cards.
Yeah.
But Mike, those hockey cards are worth so much now, you know.
Especially in this country.
So let me respond to that. Pick of sports. I'm a big sports guy. Do you know in the NBA who missed the most shots ever?
I don't.
Kobe Bryant?
Yeah. Now Kobe Bryant is a Hall of Famer. So if you don't keep trying, you don't get to miss. The guy in baseball who struck out the most in the history is in the Hall of Fame. The person who lost the most games as a pitcher is in the Hall of Fame. The person who got caught stealing is in the Hall of Fame. The person who hit into the most double plays is in the Hall of Fame, which basically means that they had a hell of a career, is a long career. And when you have long careers, then part of what ends up happening is you fail at a certain rate, but you don't let the failures basically dictate the rest of it. That for those other players got them to the Hall of Fame. Cool. We don't remember Kobe's misses. We remember Kobe's sinks in the crucial moments, and it basically blurs all that negative.
So I still have a chance.
Hang in there, Mark.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm gonna keep
You know
fighting.
who's canceled the most comic books ever? Marc Silvestri. You know who had the most late books ever? Marc Silvestri.
I wear that badge proudly.
You're on your way. You're on your way, young man.
I'll get there.
Todd, one of the great shots of the trailer is of you going at the punching bag. Who are you picturing when you're laying into the bag there?
Nobody. Nobody. No, like I don't have any animosity towards any one person, any one thing, any one establishment. That the anger when I'm hitting is just me bringing my own personality full force to the front. And not giving in, not letting the world and the people around you and business people dictate who you should be, how you should be, and how you should act, right? Now, it's easy for me to just say what I just said because I had a good career and I was able to then spend my money, right? And once you spend your own money, then you get personal freedom. And once you get personal freedom, it's good. I just take that attitude and allow the success that I've had with my career expand out to almost everything. So once you basically say, hey, I'm going to build a company that is going to allow me freedom for 24 hours a day, every day, it's a good life. I mean, this is the thing that I try to encourage people when I'm up on stage. I think everybody should attempt it.
One of my favorite things about what we uncovered and saw during the making of the documentary were that you kept all those rejection letters, like 300 something rejection letters.
I said I was going to do as many issues of Spawn as I got rejections. That's why I got the 300.
Do you think you'd be as successful if you wouldn't have had all those rejection letters and had to fight as much as you did to break into comics?
Had nothing to do with it. What are you talking about? Somebody give me a job after the second one, I would have been just as determined and just as dogged.
Well said, and I love how inspiring this panel has gotten. But you know what? I want to give these guys a chance to have a little fun at your expense.
Well, first off, this is all kind of awkward because I thought this was a Jim Lee roast. I got to throw away all my DC jokes.
Yeah.
Like, all right.
I had a bunch of good ones too.
Yeah, I still have the short jokes if I need them. But the thing that always inspired me about Todd is like he used to regale us with his stories about this. You know, Todd's an immigrant. You know, and it's like he used to tell us about how he swam the Atlantic Ocean to come to this country of great opportunities, which. Again, it's like you think back, it's kind of weird because, you know, he's Canadian. So it's like, all right, he took the long way over, but, you know, but still the stories of it, you know, under one arm, he had Wanda, on the other arm, he had all their bags and, you know, their favorite furniture, and he still managed to swim the Atlantic Ocean. So that was always inspiring to us.
That's talent.
You know, people forget, you know, Todd, you know, he came to a new country and, you know, obviously the Canadian and the American language barrier was tough for him. He had to learn a whole new language, you know, and people today talking to Todd would go, yeah, he's still struggling with that problem, obviously. And he had to change the way he looked at life. And it's like, he had to realize painful lessons, like, you know, you can't go grocery shopping wearing hockey skates in this country. You know, it's frowned upon. You know, so these are things that Todd was able to like combat and to beat.
Rise above.
Scott, how was it to go from being somebody who looked at his art and said, "Oh wow, this guy can really draw"? You know, guys like Spider-Man and the Hulk and Spawn, so incredibly, to then being somebody who's worked with him, including on Spawn, most recently, one of the covers for 300.
From as early back as I can remember getting into comic books, Todd was a standout, you know, without a doubt. I mean, one of the things, I mean, I might show you, like, I always liked Todd's subtlety. I always thought that, you know, he just by sort of like just inching up Spider-Man's eyes just a tiny bit made such a big impact.
Yeah.
And just adding just a little bit more webbing, I always thought like, oh, look at that nice subtle improvement just by that little bit of additional webbing and just maybe a little bit of subtlety with like sort of the posing, just nudging it just a little bit more. And
you even got the leprechaun feet.
Oh yeah, that too. It's in there. You just gotta look for it. And then when you know, the genius of Todd, when he coming up with Venom, the genius move of saying, what if Spider-Man had some teeth? Like that's it seems like that was such a clever and an amazing move that nobody else had thought of. And again, the subtlety of like just a little bit of teeth and how far that went. And I think later on, when I was studying Todd and I was trying to get a sense of fabric and how naturally fabric moves and sort of studying the masters and then realizing when Todd said, no, man, cape's just a bunch of triangles, man. That's all you need to do. And I was like, you know, hey, you know, who needs to study real fabric? It's all about triangles, man. And then in addition to all that, the fact that Todd taught me humility, you know, the fact and to respect authority. These are two things that I always thought Todd always embellished, and then frugalness, the sense that you should never, you know, run out and make an expensive purchase without carefully thinking about the ramifications. These are all the many lessons I think I've learned from Todd, and I'm very grateful for these both artistic lessons and lessons of life. I can't I can't thank him enough for these important little gems.
Mike, can I say that all of those notes are hidden in a very nuanced way in my career. For Scott to be able to have found all of those and bring them to the surface. He is a rare breed.
Todd's a subtle guy. Yeah, you'll learn that when you see him. It's not out there at the open. You have to dig.
To give you props on this, Jeff, you made your career by completely ignoring all those things. No, you took note of them, right? It's like, oh, this is how Todd did it, and then you just went the other way. You've done really well for yourself, so props.
If you want to stand out,
And here's where Scott is good at. Even though he was telling those stories with a sense of humor, he was doing it against the backdrop of the other subtlety, which is there's always an opportunity. So every one of those drawings he just showed that's going to now be on this panel, that's going to go viral, he's going to get big money for it. So that was why he did all those drawings on top of it. It wasn't for the stories. He just goes, there's an easy way I can pad. Right, I can pad my account. I'm just going to show this right now. Boom. So this kid is almost he's past the mentor. He's now on his own. The grasshopper is literally snatched the stone.
You're on to me. You figured me out.
Yeah.
Mark, few guys in the business have known Todd as long and as well as you have.
Wait, am I being roasted or Todd? Don't go after me like that.
In the decades that you've known him, though, how much has Todd changed? Has he changed a great deal from when you first met him long ago in those in the Marvel offices?
Here's the thing about Todd, right? And we can go into other stuff later on to kind of give this context. But and again, I've known Todd for 30 years. Yeah, 30 years. We've known each other since before Image, and it doesn't matter. You can be in a room full of the heaviest hitters in Hollywood or industry. Or he can be in a room full of comic book fans talking about pop culture and geek stuff and all that. You still get Todd. You get the same guy, right? And it's like, I don't know many people like that, because a lot of people have a switch that they switch when they're in a certain room with certain types of people. And he's not that guy. And I've been with Todd many times as a partner in Image, and we've had some meetings. I have a little story to tell on that one if you guys want to hear it as well, which is kind of defines really who this guy is. But it doesn't matter. It's like he's just true to himself, and you always get Todd, and obviously some people are going to say, really, is that a good thing? But
yeah, right. No, that's exactly what they should be saying. Exactly.
Yeah, it is a good thing.
No, they should be questioning it.
They do, but not to your face. That's all right. I hear it all the time, but not to your face.
I'll tell you a quick story about Mark, which is shortly after we started Image Comics, we got an invite to go up to Hollywood. The big agency, which is still today, is an agency called CAA. And CAA came, and we were in a room, literally, it was the 7 founders. I guess Wilson wasn't there, so it was the 6 of us. And they brought in at least one, if not more, representatives from every one of their divisions: TV, movie, literature, books. And their goal was to see if they could basically, swallow Image, what they thought Image was at that point, because nobody understood, arguably even to today, that it's an amalgamation of a bunch of individuals. And we went in there, and they thought, oh my gosh, if we can land these guys within 2 months, we're the #2 comic book industry, they would hit a home run. And I went in there with the sole purpose, and I picked one of my partners, and that day it happened to be Mark. And I said to myself, whatever Mark says in that meeting, I'm going to disagree with it and say the opposite. Even if I don't believe it, even if I actually agree with what he's saying, I am going to intentionally not agree with it, because I just want to see what their reaction is going to be when they find out that all 7 of us don't think exactly the same way. But even more importantly, the bigger question to me was, how do you swallow 7 creative people, 6 creative people, and somebody walks in, Steven Spielberg walks in, says, I need a comic book genius. Who are you picking? Because you just took all of us. It better be me. I'm hoping Mark's saying it better be him, and Valentino better be saying it's all of us. And my attitude was, there's no way they can do this without a conflict of interest. So I'm going to play literally devil's advocate. In short order, they saw that a little bit of chaos was ensuing, and that they had a mess on their hand. They had a bit of a fire dumpster. And so they basically said, when you guys go get your crap together, come back, we'll be here. And I remember we went out, I don't even know if you remember, Mark, we went out into the parking lot. you guys were furious at me because I was just trying to make a point. You guys can go back there and sign with CAA, but I'm going to another company because as soon as Spielberg says he wants a comic book guy, at least that other company is going to put me up first. My attitude was there's 6 of us. We should go to 6 agencies and we should be the #1 guy at each of them instead of all 6 of us sitting at one. And even though they were mad, they got over it very quickly because I was also going to a meeting that same day to talk about the Spawn movie way back when at New Line Cinema. And their anger went from, oh my gosh, Todd, we hate you. Why do you do this? You keep ruining this to, hey, can we go to your Hollywood meeting? We want to go with you here. And they came along. But Marc has put up with those moments where he doesn't even know that I'm basically putting him as a target. And he's still here today, so I appreciate his friendship and his skill more than anything else.
Yeah, that's me. That's like Todd's Fall Guys. Like, but we kind of go back. I kind of talk Todd off the ledge, and it's like there's a medium. There's always a happy medium somewhere. Like Todd said, even though everyone was pissed after that CAA thing, it was a happy medium in there, right? It's like, no, I didn't get my cameo in that freaking Spawn movie. No, but that was a trade-off. But I remember that meeting. We're all sitting there, right? And everyone on that side of the table, the CAA brass, they're all in their suits. They're in their uniforms, right? And us image guys are all sitting there like we just came back from a hiking trip. Except for Jim Lee. Jim Lee's a Princeton guy, so he looks like he just came back from a polo match. And Todd, like he's saying, he's basically telling them how they're going to handle us, right? And the whole time, Todd's kind of like on his leg crossed and his foot's up on the edge of the table. And I'm looking at his foot. I keep getting distracted between the conversation, right? And the fact that Todd's little toe is sticking out the hole in the side of his shoe, right? And it's like, here's this guy that's already, made more money than anyone across the table from us, like in a few months. And it's like his toe is sticking out of his shoe. And it's like, it doesn't matter. Like I said before, you're just always going to get Todd, right? And here's this guy. It's like, wow, he can't even afford a pair of shoes, telling these people how they're going to handle Image Comics. It's like, this is genius.
It's still, Marc, it's still a test. I was testing them at the same time I was testing you, sadly, to just see whether they would put up with a little bit of arrogance, if you will, a little bit of cockiness.
A little?
You guys were a confident bunch back then.
Hey, Scott, when did you first meet Todd in person?
I think it came about when I was doing Danger Girl, and there was discussion about there being toys. Like, I mean, of course, I had been in Image Comics for a couple of years at that point, but that was my first actual meeting, I believe, with Todd.
And what are your thoughts on that? Like, does it all kind of jive together?
The thing that's interesting about Todd is he lives up to the to the hype. It's not a persona in the sense that you think it's like, oh, I'm gonna turn it off now. Now you're gonna get this laid back, quiet guy. I mean, it was the persona you. I mean, both Todd and Stan Lee, of course, both are the real deal. The version you see on TV or the version you see in interviews and the sort of the big personality, there's no off switch. That's just who they both were. It's like an arc.
What was it like the first time you collaborated with Todd? Did he really come down hard on you? I would imagine that's got to be somewhat intimidating.
Todd might laugh me saying this now. The thing I remember most about the thing I remember most about when I first was talking with Todd is I remember describing it once to I think somebody saying like, it's great, but it's more like talking to a radio, because Todd was just like broadcasting to me and I was just kind of taking the information in and not really saying much in return, which is kind of nice to be full circle now, because I mean, Todd and I talk a little more often now, and there's definitely more of a two-way normal, like, but back then it was kind of like Todd was Todd and this is his company and this is the way we're going to do it. And you got to get your comic book out, buddy. You're falling late. That's not good. Like so we're making these toys. You got to get the comic book on the shelves. And so there was some intimidation without a doubt, but it was good. I mean, I liked the push. I mean, it's like one of those things too, where you're
talking too much. It's my turn.
So you're talking to the radio again.
I just wanted him to have a flashback.
We've come full circle. So in that sense, I felt prepared, but not prepared, because it's still kind of intimidating to be in that situation. I mean, the thing I'll say about Todd is I mean, I kind of feel like, and all you guys with Image, it was this sort of sense that I got into comic books without any limitations, because all you guys had kind of laid out a situation where limitations weren't a thing. Like in the case of Todd, I mean, I had seen Todd go from drawing Spider-Man to drawing and inking Spider-Man, to drawing, inking, and then writing Spider-Man, and then taking off and starting Image with all you guys. And my thought was, you can do anything you want. I mean, later on, of course, starting the toy company. So I felt I had the advantage of coming into comic books without any preconceived limitation or limiting beliefs that maybe some people who had preceded me might have had. So to me, it's always been like a wide open field to do anything and everything your heart desires and that you dream to do. There's nothing telling you, oh, I can only go this far. I can only be a penciler, or I can't write this thing. I can only draw it, or, oh, I can't own a company. I can only work for a company. None of those limitations ever entered my mind, because that wasn't the universe I walked into. I walked into a universe where the artists were, could be anything they wanted and pretty much were rock stars. And that was just that general sense that the sky was the limit. I haven't lost that even now. I feel like that's always been there. And I'm still trying to push the boundaries myself to say, hey, you can go into this other realm. You can expand this to be bigger and bigger if you want to. There's nobody telling you can't.
So I'll respond to a couple of things. Number one, the early meetings with Scott, when we landed in New York to have that fateful meeting where we were saying that we were going to leave Marvel Comics and we were going. And then later that day we went to DC. When we landed in New York, there was 4 of us: Jim Valentino, Rob Liefeld, Eric Larson, and myself. There was only going to be 4 of us that were going to start. We didn't have a name, but was soon to be Image Comics. We had a meeting the next day, and within 24 hours, I was able to talk Jim Lee and then Mark into joining, and Jim Lee brought Wills. Those were vets. Those were people that were at the top of the charts, and I still was able to sell them. So 22-year-old J. Scott Campbell at that meeting saying that you're going to do toys with me? Shoot, that was easy. That was easy stuff. I'm going, this kid doesn't even know he doesn't have a chance. Because I go,
I think even I knew that. Yeah.
But to Scott's point, which is really, we shouldn't sort of undersell what he just said, that you could do anything, but, it was on you personally. So you have to have personal responsibility. So if you wanted to start and do this ownership or start in another corner, you have to figure out how that puzzle went together. You may have to have put some or all of your money into those endeavors, but there wasn't going to be anybody to basically carry you across the line in an easy fashion. And so I don't think that it's an accident that we're now 30 years past it. I'm talking to 2 people here on the Zoom here who both, besides are phenomenal artists and can draw circles around me all day long, are both very acute business people. They may not think that, but they both have kept their careers going because they've been paying attention to the business side that props up doing the artwork of it. And although, and I'm not saying that the business is important because, again, you get to make money, whatever. I'm saying the business is important because if you can figure that piece out, it allows you to keep doing the art, which is what we all are, is the art. And they have now figured out, I'm guessing both these gentlemen are going to go to their graves doing the art of their choice when they're 90 years old. To me, that's not even a home run. That's a grand slam.
That's what you always talk about, for comic creators to have the ability to control what they work on and what they do. It's interesting. Mark, Jeff, before I let you guys go, I wanted to ask you this last question. Where do you think the industry would be today without Mr. McFarlane?
Well, I don't think we'd have as cool toys if we're looking at the toy industry. That's for sure. Because I think, like what we've been talking about was like forcing others to kind of catch up. I don't think people can argue that Todd changed the action figure industry, right? And I think you can't also argue that Todd changed the comic book industry. And again, I think with Todd's leadership and his inability, there's a piece missing, his inability to even acknowledge the effect of a failure, right? It doesn't exist other than to inspire him to work harder. All right. So The fact that he's like the spiritual leader of the image revolution, I think that's the best way you can describe what image was a revolution. Everyone behind that creator ownership and what they've been able to do with that creator ownership has been phenomenal. And I don't think image really would have happened the way that it did without Todd, to be honest with you.
He's been way too nice, and he's on my panel, so I'd probably do the same reverse. The impact that I may have had, Marc has given me way too much credit. I was able to be fearless, for lack of a better word, because I knew that I had the support of those behind me, Marc being one of them early in those years, and now today, people like Scott and the new generation. Because even if I now fail, there are so many others that are in this war with me that somebody else will take up the flag. I'm not Todd without these people and the people around me. Let me just say that.
I feel like it's tough to add to these two guys. They kind of raise the bar there with those. I would say probably what I'll give Todd a lot of credit that is deserved is not only did he build this career through his work with Marvel to go off with, of course, these guys to go off and create what is still Image Comics. I think a guy like myself feels like I can still dabble with Marvel or DC and stuff because I kind of weirdly feel safe that guys like Todd are still keeping the light on over there if I do want to go back there. And you can always still go off and create your own creator-owned comic book because Image is still there. Todd is holding the fort.
Hey guys, thank you so much for taking part in this. This has been a lot of fun. Todd, I'm gonna hit you up for a few more questions. When you guys are welcome to hang out and heckle him from the background if you want.
No, it's like, hey, I got work to do.
I was gonna say, I'm feeling bad I'm not drawing myself now.
Todd, look, it's been an honor to be your partner and most importantly, your friend. Look forward to many years of that. So love you, brother. And I'll be signing off.
I appreciate you coming. I appreciate you and Scott.
Absolutely.
Appreciate you guys showing up today.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for inviting me, guys. It was good to be a part of this. Todd, the documentary looks great. I can't wait to see more of it. It looks killer. I can't wait to see the rest.
All right.
Awesome.
All right.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, Mike.
Bye, Mike.
Be good.
Thanks, folks. Good seeing you guys.
Mike, I'd like to take a couple minutes to talk about the two gentlemen that joined us here today. Marc Silvestri is this calming voice. You heard him talk about it a little bit. Without Marc Silvestri, there's chaos. Literally, there's chaos. So he can say that it was like, Todd helped guide some of this stuff. It was only because there was somebody smart enough to basically say, Todd, just take a deep breath. Let's think about this on more than a handful of occasions. And that is really his greatest strength. Scott Campbell is a reminder to me that when we think that what we do doesn't matter because you work in isolation a lot, I look at a guy like him and go, it does matter because whatever we were doing, not me, whatever we were doing creatively together at Image and what my other partners were doing, it helped make that guy. And that guy has put great artwork in front of the world. And that's a good thing. Right? The gift of art is a great thing.
Well said, sir. Well said. Doing something like this documentary, is something that not a lot of people would be comfortable doing. You know, the access. You know, we were at your house, we were at your office all the time. Why was it important to agree to do this and to allow us the access that you gave us? Because without it, we don't get to do this kind of project.
The real answer, the honest answer, is because it's good for business. I mean, you know, although there's flattery and there's ego and all those other things that go with it, the 30 years I've spent is building up brand and street cred and reputation. And the way to garner some of that is through your art. But the other way to garner it is just letting people know that you exist, whether that's you as a creator or your creations. Sometimes you can be your own billboard for your work. If I can get out there and say or do something that is either interesting or inspirational or motivates people and they remember the name and some of the stuff I do, it'll just trickle down in all the other things that I do so that it's just another step forward in being able to maybe have a 60-year career instead of a 30-year career?
I have my own answer to this because, obviously we've talked a lot over the years, but what do you think fans are going to be surprised about when they see this? Because, they've heard some of the stories, but I don't think they've seen this side of Todd McFarlane quite that often. Because, when you're at a convention, even though you are a very consistent person, the way you are at home and at the office is kind of how you are at comic shops, at appearances, and also at conventions. But this, you see a little bit different side of you here.
Maybe if I have one hope, potentially, it's that they maybe get the message that from a distance, it's easy to look at some celebrities, and obviously compared to athletes and Hollywood people and singers and stuff, comic book people are small, but still use that word celebrity. That I think people from a distance at times think celebrity is easy. There's highs and lows. There's highs and lows of all of this, and it's not as pain-free as you may imagine. I don't think you should be giving any delusions to anybody that if you want to achieve something that it's going to come easy, like winning a lottery ticket or something like that. You got to just, like we've mentioned before, you got to just bust it every day and advocate for yourself every day.
Perfect segue to my next question. Where do things stand with the Spawn movie that you're trying to do? We know about it. You've been talking about it for a long time, and you've made some great advances towards it. Had some setbacks. Where does the movie idea stand right now?
I can tell you with all sincerity, it's still moving forward. We just added somebody to the team, a big name. Nobody wants to go public with it, so we'll wait until the proper time. I know it's easy for people to say, yeah, Todd, we've heard this, but there have been times where, months have gone by and nothing concrete has happened. Concrete things are going on behind the scenes currently. And I'm not just saying that, it's happening. Because you can imagine nobody's working, so it's easy to now get people's attention.
You've lined up great talent for in front of the camera work and also behind the scenes. Are they still all involved?
More coming. Yeah, Jamie Foxx just sent me something yesterday. As a matter of fact, yesterday, on my phone, he always gives me these voice messages, and he just goes, "I'm ready, Todd. I'm ready. Right? I'm getting ready for Tyson." And he goes, "That same energy I'm bringing to Tyson to get ready, I'm just going to carry it into Spawn. We're going to go. Let's go." He is arguably more dedicated than I am of wanting to get this done. So just, if nothing else, I got to get it done just for Jamie. If they catch anything out of this documentary, they're going to just see that I'm just savage when I just get focused. I become blind, and getting this movie done as a dark R-rated movie that I direct is either going to happen or I'm going to die. Those are the only two choices. I mean, there's no third choice to me. I hope it's not the second one. So we're gonna get it done.
Awesome.
Can I say one thing about your documentary?
Yeah, you can say as many things as you want about the documentary.
This is only part one of what should be a 2 or 3 part series, because if I know me and hopefully I'm healthy, 20 years from now, I will have accomplished something from today, 20 more years in the future, that is worthy of us talking about again. And that you go, "Duh, we should have waited another 20 years because we could have added that." Remember, I haven't even directed my first movie yet. That's coming. So I've still got lots of stories. So as much as people go, "Oh, you got a documentary," to me personally, Mike, I'm halfway through your documentary. We still got at least one more in me. I've got another 30 years in me.
Let me produce part 2 and 3 then.
Well, you got to live as long as me too then. We'll make a promise. We'll make a pact. We'll make a pact right now.
Absolutely. Todd McFarlane, thanks again for the time, man. It's always great talking with you.
And the greatest gratitude still has to go to the fans. Without them, none of us have a career. You or I, nobody. Scott, Mark, none of us. And I don't think the fans understand the gift they give us every single day by supporting our efforts. So if I've gotten anywhere, it's because of the support every day for 35 years to the fans. So I tip my hat to every single one of you.
And that's why you have the fans that you do, sir, because you appreciate them like that. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
All right, be good.
Well, this has been a lot of fun. First, I want to thank our two guests, Marc Silvestri and J. Campbell. And in particular, I want to thank Todd Mcfarlane for being generous with his time and taking part in this. And don't forget, Todd Mcfarlane, Like Hell I Won't, debuts July 25th at 11 p.m. on SYFY. Be sure to tune in. It's the side of Todd you've never seen before. I think you guys are going to enjoy it.